He was a former GOP primary challenger to Donald Trump in 2019. He's a former congressman from Illinois' famed 8th district, which is quite well known because Iraqi war veteran Tammy Duckworth ran against Joe and unseated him in 2012. It was following a redistricting after the 2010 U.S. Census. And now it's occupied by Raja Krishnamurthy, who's also quite high profile. He's been a conservative radio talk show host, and he was famously quoted for tweeting that that he would be grabbing his musket if Donald Trump were to win the election, I guess.
My famous musket tweet, yeah.
Yeah, and but today his views have changed quite a bit, as he was telling me. He's become a stark critic of former President Trump, sort of a never-Trumper, describing Trump as unfit and saying that the Trump's GOP has become a cult. You might have also seen him, he would gain some notoriety as Sacha Baron Cohen pranked him in this 2018 movie. And where Joe Walsh said a first grader can become a first grenader. But he's on February 2nd of this year, he tweeted that a college student asked him today what these past few years have taught him. And Joe said that put your country first, even if it costs you your seat in Congress, even if it costs you your syndicated radio show, country before party. He said to own your mistakes and say you're sorry, and that Black lives do matter. So Joe, question to you is, thank you, first of all, thank you for being here with the American Club of Hamburg. What pushed you to stand up for your principles and admit mistakes?
And it's great to be with you, David. It's great to be with everybody. Let me start here. I voted for Donald Trump in 2016. I've spent a good chunk of the past 3 or so years apologizing for that vote and apologizing for what I did to help lead to Trump. We'll talk about this, I'm sure, over the course of the next hour. Donald Trump is rightfully engaged in an impeachment trial right now. He ought to be convicted. He ought to be disqualified from ever running again. David, I got elected and sent to Congress in 2010. I was a Tea Party conservative, generally here in America, a pretty conservative guy. I'm still a pretty conservative guy. I really haven't changed much on my policy issues. The change is Donald Trump got elected in 2016. And it became clear to me, David, day after he won, that this guy's just unfit. So even in the position I was in, eventually I had to say, I can't support this person for re-election. That was the change in my life. And that's the change that all Republicans and conservatives had to go through these past 4 years.
Well, that's great to hear, because that's something that a lot of people have been hoping, that people would come to their senses and admit that. So it's very, very big of you to do that, and appreciate that. Similar to what a lot of the former Republicans that are part of the Lincoln Project are also following along this course.
Well, it's important to point out, David, most haven't and most won't. The Republican Party right now, I believe, is a dying political party. It is Trump's party, no matter what happens with this impeachment trial. You may respect my voice as a principled conservative who opposes Donald Trump, but I'm in the minority. I don't have a home in the Republican Party. None of us do.
Now, would you? So, if you're not in the Republican Party, where are you then? Politically, are you just waiting for? Are you waiting for the situation to change?
I'm not a young man. I don't think it will change in my lifetime. Yeah, those of us. I was a lifelong Republican. I left the Republican almost exactly a year ago when my presidential campaign came to an end. And I left the party, David, because the party has become a cult. And I did not want to belong to a cult. So where can I go and where can people like me go? You can stay in the Republican Party and try to reform it. I don't think that's possible. Some of us have joined the Democratic Party. I respect the Democratic Party, but philosophically, I'm not a Democrat. I think the bulk of us, David, are going to be independents, just kind of hang out here in the middle until something else comes along.
What can you say about then the people that you've left behind in the Republican Party? If you say it's a cult, what's their fate?
You know, it's interesting because I come from the Trump world, because I voted for Trump, and Trump's supporters were the same people who sent me to Congress. They're the same people who listened to me on the radio show the last 5 or 6 years. I know these people, and I actually still engage with them today, every single day, thousands of them. They're still sticking with him. The base of the GOP party believes in Donald Trump, and they support him and everything they believe he's fighting for. Most of them don't believe they belong to a cult. The party's changed. It's reflecting, I think, more of a far right party that you might find in Europe.
I just want to remind everybody that joining us today, please, we welcome your questions. Just put them into the chat, send them to me, and then I can, I'll let you know that I can call on you if you'd like to ask the question yourself, or if you'd like me to ask it. Until then, I'll just keep asking questions here. So now we're just starting the Senate impeachment trials, and of course the constitutionality of that was questioned at the beginning, and we've gone through that. So the trial's going forward. How do you see this playing out over the next couple of days?
I think I'm pretty safe, David, in saying that the following two things are true. Donald Trump is going to be acquitted, and Donald Trump is guilty. Plain and simple. He did. January 6th does not happen without Donald Trump. And the Democrats today have done a wonderful job of showing that the lie, the months and the months of the president of the United States putting out the big lie that the election was stolen, that's what led to that insurrection on January 6th. Trump incited it. He wasn't alone, David. The Republicans went along with him. Many in the conservative media world in America, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, they all spread that lie. But that lie incited it. I think it's clear he incited the insurrection. He ought to be convicted. He should be disqualified from running again. But politically, David, that's just not going to happen. 17 Republicans will not convict him, so he'll probably be acquitted.
Well, a year ago, the Mitch McConnell did not allow witnesses, and but this time is different. Don't you think that there's a chance, because now we already had Senator Cassidy of Louisiana sort of defected and voted that this was constitutional. So he was one of the Republicans that was peeled off. Do you think that if they show testimony and have people relive it, and after all, the jurors of this impeachment trial, the senators, were actually witnesses and victims of January 6th. Don't you think that there's a chance that some more will peel off?
Donald Trump got elected president in 2016 of the greatest country in the history of the planet. So yeah, David, anything can happen. If a horrible human being like Donald Trump can become the American president, there is a chance that the Senate will convict him. But I don't think they will. Look, it'll take 17 Republicans. 6 Republicans yesterday just said, okay, we'll allow there to be a trial. That doesn't mean they're going, all 6 of them are going to vote to convict. I don't think we'll even see witnesses. Here's the weird thing, David. Both sides want this trial to be really quick. Republicans want to move on. They don't want to keep talking about Trump. But Democrats really don't want a long trial as well, because they want to get to Joe Biden and Joe Biden's agenda. So I don't even think you'll see witnesses.
Okay, starting to get some questions here from the gallery. Frank, could you turn on your microphone and your camera? Frank has a question for you.
Yes, I think my camera is on.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, nice to meet you. Nice to hear you. Thank you for being here. Yes. So when I follow the news, what's really concerning for me is the far left approach that's ruling part of the Democrats. So especially this thing with the critical race theory they are powering to the educational system. I think this is a dangerous ideology, which is going to even broaden the split in America. And what's your take on that?
I agree. And in fact, Frank, to that point, we had the school district in the city of San Francisco a week ago cancel Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. They took Washington's name off of their schools and Abraham Lincoln's name off of their schools. This kind of political correct bullshit, pardon my language, driven by the left is a real concern. To your point, I think the Republican Party is shrinking. It's becoming the Trump Party. The Democratic Party, Frank, is being pulled to the left. Most Americans are right here, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So I actually believe, Frank, in America, we're seeing the end of the two-party Republican-Democratic duopoly that we've had for about 166 years. Amen, brother. Amen. I think you're going to see a new viable party in the middle within the next few years.
So the body up is Tulsi Gabbard, for example. She makes some good points in the Democrats. She also left Congress and has a view that's not compatible with Biden. So amen to that. Good luck.
Yeah, no, it's Frank, it's a great point. It's a great question. And by the way, that's where Biden is. Biden is no crazy leftist. He's no socialist, but he'll be pressured in that direction. If he were smart, he'd govern from the middle. But I think, look, I'll leave you with this, Frank. I think we live in a revolutionary time in America. I think the two-party thing is done.
Thank you. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Frank. And thanks, Joe.
Great question.
We have now a question we're going to go to Herbert Kvella. Herbert was the German Consul General to the Midwestern states.
Wonderful.
You might know him.
Hi, Joe. I just sent you a direct message. Can you read me? I think I unmuted. Yeah. Hi.
Hi there.
So I said we must have been in the same room at least together, but I don't recall having talked to you in person.
Your handsome mug, your face looks familiar.
Okay. I appreciate your views because I argue that we need a Republican Party or a party which is on the other political spectrum in the US, which can be taken seriously by democratic leaders. And we've been amiss in that respect. So other than my previous speaker, I see the greater danger actually to where I see you are pointing at within the Republican Party, that this is falling apart. But what I'd be interested in is if you could shed a little more light on how you became attracted to Trump in the first place. Was there any particular triggering event? Or what, I mean, now you've changed your mind. You said already shortly after he was
Yeah.
or took
Let
over.
me
And
hold your question. Let me answer that, and then I'll give you the follow-up, because it does demand some explanation.
Hi, beautiful doggy.
Hi, Karen. Hi. All right, let me answer that. So I did vote for Donald Trump in 2016. I did not vote for him because I loved him or I liked him. He wasn't Hillary Clinton. At that point, that was an easy vote for me. I am guilty of, and this may sound funny, coming from a former congressman, and I was on the radio around the country back then. I did not pay sufficient attention to who Donald Trump was. I didn't vote for him in the Illinois primary. Back in 2016, Donald Trump actually blocked me on Twitter because I would criticize him. So he didn't like me back then, but I did vote for him. And I think it's important, guys, to understand why he won. I was saying back then that the American political system before Trump was broken. Look, this is a divided country. We were divided before Trump. I think both political parties are broken. I think our political system is broken. And that brokenness gave us Trump. We needed disruption. Our political system, I believed then, and I still believe now, needed some disruption. It had grown old and archaic and out of touch with where most folks are. Donald Trump was certainly a disruptor. The problem is he's a horrible human being, maybe one of the worst human beings who's ever lived. But fair enough, I voted for him. I've got to live with that vote. I began to change and turn on him pretty quickly after he won, when I started to pay attention to him. And it occurred to me that every time he opens his mouth, he lies. Every single time. We can't have that as a president. The final straw for me, where I finally said, I will do everything in my power to make sure Trump is not reelected, was Helsinki in the summer of 2018. When Donald Trump stood in front of the world, that was the first day that I called Donald Trump a traitor. I believe he is a traitor to this country. In Helsinki, when he stood in front of the world and put his arms around Putin and said, I believe Putin and not my own people, in my mind, that was the greatest act of disloyalty I've ever seen in an American president until this past year, when Donald Trump undermined our election. So Helsinki in 2018 was my final straw. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you. If I may, David, can I have a follow-up question concerning?
Yes, go ahead.
That Joe made earlier. Joe, when you said the two-party system in the United States is a thing of the past, or should be a thing of the past, I mean, how do you realistically want to change that as long as you have the majority vote?
So it's going to be difficult in America, as you know, because the two parties over the years have done a great job of making it difficult for a viable third party to enter the scene. But again, I think what's going to happen is there's still such unrest and unhappiness with our political system in this country. I think you're going to see people from outside the two-party system, and really people from outside politics, come in to create something new. How do you create a new political party in America and make it viable? You need a lot of money. You need resources. I think you're going to see outside money come in the next few years, because there's an opening here. The Republican Party keeps shrinking. It's becoming a far-right regional party. It's no longer a national party, I don't believe. And I believe the energy in the Democratic Party is toward the left. Most Americans are right here in the middle. Outside money, I believe, is going to recognize that and start something new.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Herbert. Thanks, Joe. We have a question now from Tonio Barlage.
Yes, hi, Joe.
Hi there.
Short question. In terms of timeline, what do you think? You said you wouldn't see that in your lifetime. My goodness. Is it longer than 10 years, or why would it take that long before a third middle ground party gets established with one or the other billion from a billionaire?
No, I think I'll see that. I think that we'll see a new party in my lifetime. I don't think we'll see the Republican Party ever recover in my lifetime. I think the Republican Party is permanently now a regional Trump nationalist populist party. I think you'll see a viable third party within the next 4 to 6 years.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, thanks, Tonio. Arturo, you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, thank you for taking my question. You're not a Democrat and you are a conservative. Where principled conservatives going to go politically, because you're not the middle? And I find myself currently agreeing. I'm a more liberal, left-oriented person, but I find myself agreeing with somebody like Bill Kristol every day.
Yeah.
And is there a chance that there will be a group of principled conservatives that will form a bloc, caucus with the Democrats, and push for election reform, and to move away from, let's say, a winner-take-all electoral system where you just need 50+1, and move to a proportional representation system like what you have here in Germany, which would allow a new conservative party or a new middle party to have a chance to grow, or even allow the Democrats to split into two parties, which in my mind they are.
So again, this will be my familiar note. I believe we are living politically in revolutionary times in America. I believe, and I said this before Trump got elected, this country is the most divided it has been since the Civil War. You're going to see enormous political upheaval in this country. I mean, just witness, and Trump is a symptom. I mean, Trump's just a moron. He's an idiot. He's just a symptom of a greater problem in America. But to your point, look at the great alliance of people who came together last year to defeat Trump. Conservatives like me and Bill Kristol joining hands with progressives, all to defeat this would-be fascist. I do believe there's going to be some sort of a centrist, common sense, let's get some shit done kind of a political party that's going to come to the fore. I think that new political party will attract conservatives like me and Kristol. It'll attract moderates, Republicans, and Democrats. I think that's where a number of these different folks will ultimately meet, is somewhere in the middle with a moderate, common sense kind of party. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But the problem is getting through electorally, because you have a winner-take-all system, you have gerrymandered districts.
Agreed. So I think, again, I think a lot of that stuff then will go by the wayside. I think you're going to see a lot of outside money coming in the next few years in America to change and reform some of our politics and elections process. I'm a conservative and I would do away with the Electoral College tomorrow. I would. That's not a majority viewpoint on my side. I think you're going to see the Electoral College eventually go by the wayside, and we'll look at other reforms. I think we're at the beginning of a lot of the reforms that you're talking about beginning to bubble up right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Arturo. Thanks, Joe. Now we'd like to go to Mo Davis, who ran for the 11th District of North Carolina for Congress.
Hey, David, can I protest? I don't want to talk to Mo because he should be in Congress right now. I should not be able to talk to him. He should be on the floor of Congress right now.
Yeah, I know. He told me that you sent him a nice note after he lost to Madison Cawthorn, wishing that he had won.
Some unqualified young punk beat him. A disgrace. Go ahead,
That's
Mo.
just a testament to the gerrymandering. And we had Mo on twice in the last 6 years as a speaker. So glad that you're joining us today, Mo. Mo, go ahead.
No, well, thanks for having me. Joe, I was going to say, I beat you. I got blocked by Trump on Twitter in 2014.
You beat me, friend.
Yeah, hey, I'm just curious. You've seen at the state level, the Republican Party, like in Georgia and Arizona, where elected officials did their duty and got censored by the party. And then you've got, with Liz Cheney in Wyoming and Cassidy down in Louisiana, where the party is taking action against people for voting their conscience and against Trump. What does that bode for the party going forward, that kind of action is being taken?
Hey, Mo, I think the party's screwed. It's a cult. Don't forget, and I know you know this, in that last presidential primary, when I got in, the state parties started to cancel primaries. Ultimately, 22 states canceled the Republican Party canceled their presidential primary. Mo, at the state and local level, the Trump cultism is most pervasive. And I mean, at the state and local level, these folks worship Donald Trump. He put his people directly in charge of the state parties in most states. So, I mean, that's why when I hear people talk about how some of the Republicans in the House and the Senate maybe can wise up, I think as long as at the grassroots level, the Republican Party is like this, I don't see it changing. Thank you, my friend.
Sure.
Run again,
Thanks.
damn it.
I just announced today I am. So.
Oh, you are?
You are great.
Hey, Mo, what about who's in charge of redistricting in North Carolina?
Now the Republicans are. So we're getting another district. We're getting a 14th. So they're going to have to take something from each one to create a new one. So ours will get a little less red, but
good.
Yeah, it's a long way till November of 2022, but we can't have the little Nazi staying up in Washington.
Absolutely. Good for you, Mo. That's awesome news.
That's great news, Mo. Really, really great. Glad to hear you running again. So you'll have to come back and let us know about your in a few months about your platform. Yeah. I'd like to go now to Michael Witt, or Michael Witt.
Michael, it's an international name. My question is about how could the Democratic Party develop when when Joe Biden is a person of maybe a centrist, when he refuses to follow the left wing of his party? Could there develop a split in the Democratic Party?
Yeah, look, I think we focus a lot on the Republican Party because I think it's already split and I think it's dying. But you're right in that the Democratic Party has their issues as well. And there is a burgeoning split in the Democratic Party. The energy in the Democratic Party is with the progressives. I think for these next 4 years, Joe Biden is going to do his best to try to keep them at bay. Progressives came out in a big way to vote this past November, not because they loved Biden. All of us voted to get rid of Trump. So I think there's some anxiety among progressives. I hear a lot of it, that they want things done. And with a few of Biden's initial executive orders, he's been meeting some of their demands. So I think that's going to be a constant struggle for Biden these 4 years. I would just say this, the progressives need a standard bearer. I know Bernie will probably live till he's 129, but they may need a younger Bernie Sanders out there. maybe in a couple years to run again.
Some of these problems we speak about, we have in Germany as well.
Yep.
Joe, have you been to Germany?
I have not, and it pains me to say so because I took 4 years of German in high school and I think a year in college. It's a beautiful country. I've never been. One day.
Great, you'll have to come visit us here.
I would
when
like
the
that.
Pandemic's over.
I drink tequila. Can I find any tequila in Germany?
Not so easy, not good ones.
Oh, that's
Tequila.
not true. There is a store called Weinquelle that has everything. Tito, what's the brand?
No beer for me. I need tequila.
What brand is your tequila? Is Tito?
I'm easy. Doesn't matter. I'm easy. So if you could find me some good tequila, I'll be there next week.
Yeah, Sierra. We have Sierra.
Good.
If you have more questions, please send them to me in the chat. While we're waiting for some, Joe, you just wrote a book that came out last year. It's called "Fuck Silence: Calling Trump Out for the Cultish, Moronic, Authoritarian Con Man He Is." Tell us about what inspired you to write the book, and tell us some excerpts from the book.
So it was a difficult thing writing a book about Donald Trump, and I wrote the book in the fall of 2019, pre-pandemic, pre-impeachment, pre-first impeachment, pre-everything. And I wrote the book because I wanted to explain why I thought Donald Trump was unfit to be president. And it came down to two reasons. He's incapable of telling the truth, and he's humanly incapable of putting the country's interests before his own. And I made that case before the infamous call with Ukraine and before the pandemic. I mean, the lesson of the pandemic is Donald Trump didn't give a damn. Donald Trump didn't care if Americans got sick. He didn't care if Americans died. It's easy to understand why. He's incapable of caring. The timing with my book was lousy because it came out right as the pandemic hit. And the difficult thing about writing a book about Donald Trump is you think you're going to write about something really bad that he's done, but then by the time the book is published 6 months down the road, he's done 13 things that are even worse. So it was odd to come out with the book that had nothing to do with impeachment or the pandemic during the pandemic.
Are you inspired to now write a follow-up book as well?
Yeah, I think the book that I'm beginning to work on right now is what exactly led to Trump in the Republican Party and what the Tea Party is, the Tea Party. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what the Tea Party was and how it led to Trump. So, and as someone who got elected as a proud Tea Party person, I'd like to put my stamp on that a little bit.
And when you look back at your initial supporting of Trump, was that just strictly along party lines, or was there something where did you think he held some promise for Americans?
Again, I figured Donald Trump is a goof. He's a big bore. Maybe he'll hire a couple good people and maybe a couple good things might happen. But I understood and I connected with the fact, David, that our political system needed some disruption. You know, disruption can be a good thing in the marketplace, in government, or disruption can be a bad thing. I rolled the dice a little bit with Trump. I said, you know what? We need to shake things up a little bit in Washington. He seems like a real jerk, but we need to shake things up a little bit. That's what got me to vote for Trump. And again, I didn't love him or like him, and he didn't love me or like me back then. But I just, and then obviously he turned into be just a horrible disruptor.
Okay, let's go back to Tonio. Tony, you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I'm not sure how many years Biden has. What do you think 2020, will there be a change to the Senate, or will they keep at least 50 seats, the Democrats?
You know, historically in America, the president's party doesn't do well in the first midterm. So history would tell us that the Republicans will probably take control of the House and probably take control of the Senate in 2 years. The reason that may not be the case, again, goes to January 6th. We can't underestimate the profound effect of January 6th on this country. I cried again yesterday during the first day of the impeachment trial when I watched that video of our Capitol being attacked. Outside of Trump's supporters, that the rest of America recoils at January 6th. I think that is still going to be there next year. So the Democrats may have a chance of hanging on to control of both houses. Regarding Biden, every expert would tell you that nobody expects him to run again. But I'll tell you what, he looks pretty in command. And I'm beginning to think that if his health is okay, maybe he would run again in 2024. Who knows?
No, but I would rather think in 2 years, it's the end of having more than presidential orders. Because he doesn't get anything through the House or through the Senate. That's where I'm coming from.
No, let's hope so. Let's hope it's the end of executive orders. And you're right in that the Republicans are not incentivized to maybe give him some legislative achievements. I expect gridlock the next 4 years, but Mitch McConnell can't stand Donald Trump, the #1 Republican in the Senate. People who know Mitch McConnell believe that he would like to give Biden a legislative victory or two. So Biden is going to proceed with his COVID relief piece of legislation. I think you'll see some Republicans sign on to it. The other area I would look at is the area of infrastructure, rebuilding our roads and bridges that we haven't done in this country in 2,000 years. You will see that, I believe, be a law, a piece of legislation that I think Republicans and Democrats will come together on in the next year or so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we have a few questions coming in, so I'll ask you to be a bit patient. I'll let you know when you can ask. Next we have is Christopher Estegard. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yep. Thanks. Geez, I feel like I'm out of my league with all these guys, so forgive me if this question
shut
seems
up.
a little
You are
ignorant.
not. You're not out of anybody's league. Cut it out.
It's like learning German. I can understand more listening than I can speak, you know? Well, it seems like some Republicans are voting more along party lines than with their own conscience. I mean, with the impeachment especially, it stands out to me. And I'm wondering, what do you think it would take for Republicans to start voting their minds rather than just strictly along party lines?
Donald Trump would have to be gone. Donald Trump would have to go. These Republicans, man, they're not scared of Trump. They're scared of Trump's voters. Look at it like this. Donald Trump has a hold. I mean, he's got a rock solid hold on most Republican voters. These Republicans, you're right. Look, every one of them knows that Trump did wrong. Every one of them knows that Trump should have been impeached and should be convicted. They're scared to do that, and they won't do that because they don't want to piss off Trump's voters. So what will it take to get them to do the right thing? I think Trump has to be out of the picture because the party is like a cult. and he's going to have a hold on a certain number of voters as long as he's around. It pains me to say that. I'm a dark Irishman. I think the Republican Party is in for a long number of years here.
And when you say Trump out of the picture, I mean, even let's say he's impeached and they say he can't run for office anymore. He's very good at being in the media. So, I mean, even if he can't run for office, he's not officially a part of a party or anything, he can still be very vocal. So, I mean,
so when I say,
how can he be out of the picture?
When I say out of the picture, I mean, he's no longer with us.
Okay.
I mean, let's cut to the chase. Life is short. Let's say it. You're right. You can take Twitter away from him. Donald Trump could be behind bars in 2 years, and he will still control 30% at least of the Republican Party. So he's got to be long, long gone for that to go away. The only alternative to that is all of these Republicans in unison finally find their testicles and rise up against him. But that ain't happening.
Yeah, because he's got votes.
He holds the votes, period.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Christopher. Now let's go to Niels. Niels, you have a question?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. How about the money goes away, like the My Pillow guy being convicted, and Dominion taking money from his enablers, and all the donors going away? Wouldn't that incentivize people in the Republican Party to vote their conscience?
You know, it's a great question, and you've almost stumped me. And it's early here, so I haven't had any tequila yet. But think about this. Because of Donald Trump, America a month ago had an insurrection. There was an attempt to violently overthrow our government because of Donald Trump. That happened, and now here we are a month later, and the Republican Party is still washing his feet. So if something like that doesn't move voters and even politicians away from Trump, nothing will.
No, fair point.
Thanks. Let's go to Arturo.
And by the way, can I say this before?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Arturo? Again, because of where I come from, I come from Trump world. I engage with thousands of Trump supporters every single day. I will engage with 1,000 of them today. Let me tell you something. Almost all of them still support Trump. None of them believe Trump should have been impeached. None of them blame Donald Trump for January 6th. So no matter what we hear on CNN and MSNBC and all the rest, Republican voters, the most committed ones, they're with him.
Thanks. I think Arturo has a question about Trump's dream team of lawyers. Go ahead,
Yes,
Arturo.
yeah, I do. So Senator Cornyn, so that's the senior senator from Texas, he described the presentation yesterday by Trump's defense as some of the worst lawyering he's ever seen, and he's seen a lot of lawyering, but he still voted against impeachment proceedings, the constitutionality of them, and he's going to vote to acquit. My senator from Ohio, so I'm originally from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Rob Portman was doing deep dives on Neera Tanden, so that's the nominee for the OMB, on her Twitter feed. Yet in 4 years, he never read a Trump tweet. How do these Republicans, square these circles? Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand how you can live with such cognitive dissonance.
And your Senator Portman is retiring, and he is still afraid to do the right thing.
Yes.
Right? Look, again, I have a unique perspective because I was a nationally syndicated conservative talk radio guy in America. I was a former congressman. And because I'm anti-Trump, I lost my radio show. Because I'm anti-Trump, I could never get elected as a Republican again. Why do these Republicans do what they do? Do they have no conscience? How can they sleep at night? It's easy. They want to get reelected. We throw that expression out that they sold their soul. They did. They know Trump's a son of a bitch. They know Trump's bad for America. They know Trump's bad for the Republican Party, but they sold everything they believed in to get reelected. That's why they do what they do. If I had done that, I'd still be in Congress. If I had sold my soul, I'd be right there with Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh on the radio still. You want ratings, you want money, you want to get reelected. That's why they've done what they've done. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's so dirty. It sounds like a heroin addict. You do everything to get your next fix.
Well, yes, you sold your soul. I could never do that. In essence, what you and I are saying is they're going against what they believe in. They're putting their own interest ahead of their country's interest. I could not do that. Most politicians can do that very easily.
Thank you. And that's very sad.
Agreed.
Thanks for your question,
Agreed.
Arturo.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Arturo. Now we're going to go to Kimberly Crow. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, David. Good to see you. Hi, Joe. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
You know, if it's, I find it extremely pitiful how people are holding on to Trump. But if there's no hope from them, I was wondering, might all the lawsuits that seem to be looming, might they be of some kind of help of getting, you know, getting rid of him in whatever way, shape, or form?
I think, Kimberly, that he's going to be in tremendous legal jeopardy this next year or two. He will be fending off lawsuits everywhere he turns. Now, to counter that, right now he's got about $250 million that he raised, all because of the big lie of the stolen election. He can spend that money to defend himself against all of these lawsuits. All he's got to do is snap his fingers and raise another $200 million because he has such an avid following who will just give him more money. You're going to see Fox News is going to be sued every which way because of the lies that they put out. They have deep pockets and they'll settle those lawsuits. As long as Donald Trump has people who will give him money, he's going to be fine.
It's just so awful. And I think especially, you know, being in Germany, I'm half German. And, you know, when you look back in history, how those things happened, to see how my other, you know, homeland is just like falling for it. It just.
But Kimberly, Kimberly, can I give you one ray of hope?
Yes, please.
Good, because I'm a dark Irishman. I usually bring everybody down. The best thing Donald Trump did, the election of Donald Trump, the 4 years of Donald Trump, is that he woke this country up. I said constantly before Trump ever got elected, Americans had grown kind of fat, lazy, and stupid. We weren't involved. We didn't pay attention to our politics. We didn't follow our politics. We weren't engaged. And then we elected an utterly horrible human being. And I want to tell you something. He woke people up. Joe Biden, more people voted for Joe Biden than have ever voted for anybody who's ever run for president before. Because Trump's terribleness, Kimberly, brought a lot of people into politics for the first time. That's a good thing.
So our hope is on them.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Kimberly. Let's go back to Herbert Kvella.
Yeah, Joe, is there an organized network of like-minded people like you who are disillusioned with your party in the making?
Semi-organized. I expect to be organized in the next 6 months or so. So in the process, I believe, of becoming organized.
Now we have a question from Norbert. Go ahead, Norbert. If you can unmute yourself.
I had to switch on my microphone.
There you are.
Hi,
Norbert.
thank you very much. Being German a few years ago, I wouldn't have cared much about whether the president of the United States is a Republican or a Democrat. And I wouldn't have cared much about domestic politics in the United States. But that has changed very much now since Donald Trump became president. It would be sad and dangerous, in my opinion, if the success of the Democrats just depended on one person. So I'm a little bit scared about talking just about Joe Biden. I know the Democrats are a pretty diverse party, I think, but racism perhaps may be an important issue in the election. And so my question is, what a candidate has to be like to have a chance to be elected in 4 years or in the next presidential election?
A Democrat or Republican?
Pardon?
A Democrat or Republican?
It depends on how the listening to you, I would prefer a Democrat. I must say that.
So I think, my friend, what you will see in 2024, if not Trump, the Republican nominee will be somebody like Trump. It will be a smarter Trump. It will be a more polished Trump, but it will be somebody who will express Trumpism because that's where the Republican Party is. So that's what you'll get in 2024 on the Republican side. On the Democratic side, if Joe Biden wants to run again, I think you'll see probably a progressive challenge to him, depending on how these 4 years go. If Biden wants to run again and he's in good shape, he'll be the Democratic nominee. If not, I believe Joe Biden is trying to pave the way for Vice President Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee.
Thank you, Norbert. Thanks, Joe. Now let's go back to North Carolina. Mo Davis.
Yeah, Joe, I'm just curious, in the 2020 race, I know in the postmortem, I spoke with candidates that won and candidates that lost. And two of the things Republicans used really effectively were the defund the police and the term socialism to scare, their base. How can Democrats respond to those?
Mo, you're exactly right. Almost every person in the middle that I spoke with last year who voted against the Democratic candidate, they always mentioned, I don't want to defund the police and I'm worried about the socialists. So look, you'd know better than I do, Mo. It's Democrats have to figure out a way to combat this, because I don't know, Mo, you tell me, I don't know of any Democrat, even any far left Democrat, who ever literally said we should defund the police, but that narrative worked. I'll tell you what, Mo, what would have helped Democrats like you last year is if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had been much more forceful early on to refute all of that crap. Biden and the candidates running for president, and then once Biden became the nominee, I like Joe Biden, but he was not nearly forceful enough saying the Democratic Party doesn't believe in this. He kind of kept quiet on that, Mo. And then I think that left a lot of the candidates like you out there on your own treading water. So my hope, Mo, is that in 4 years, whoever is the face of the National Democratic Party, that they refute that stuff right out of the gate.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mo. Now we go to Patricia Bendala. Patricia?
Hi, how's it going?
Hi there.
Got an echo here.
So I think I'm seeing this from a very unique perspective, I guess, in the room, because I come from Spain and I'm happily married to an American citizen. And I got more involved in the politics in the US, following more since I got married. We come as well from a two parties system, which was very broken as well, as you were explaining. And I am kind of like seeing the same process going on in America right now, as you were mentioning. And I think that there is a lot of impact in the people in the streets, like out of the institutions. So we have seen it this year with all the revolving of Trump supporters, but also with the Black Lives Matters, with all the things that have shaken finally the conscience of the people, getting them out of their ABC life. And I want to know, what's your opinion, and are we going to see more of this violence that took the Capitol in the next few years when Biden puts up whatever is his agenda, whatever measures he takes more into the Democrat side? Do you think that will cause a reaction from the Trump supporters in a violent way or in any way?
Yeah, great question. I've had this fear for a few months now, because I hear from Trump supporters every day, thousands of them every day. I was always scared about what would happen once Joe Biden was sworn in, because even in late December, early January, a lot of Trump supporters still believed that Donald Trump was going to raise his hand and be sworn in as president. They're still out there and they're angry. And I worry that these next couple of years in America are going to be violent. I worry that we're going to see attacks on state capitals. We have an emboldened right-wing domestic group in this country that is perfectly willing to engage in acts of violence. And so, yeah, I think we're in for a rocky, rocky road.
Well, I hope it doesn't go with many lives in the way, because that would be the true sadness.
Yes. And again, I will just say this. Even though Joe Biden won, and I'm glad he did, and I'm glad Donald Trump lost, this country is extremely divided. I want to say this one more time. I don't believe we have been this divided since the Civil War. This is a really worrisome time in America. I mean that.
Well, good luck with creating something that can conciliate.
Good luck with your American husband.
Joe, we had a speaker on last week, and I asked him, he was a military man, and I asked him this question, but I think I'll ask you as well. During the final days of the Trump administration, there were so many shakeups, there were so many changes, right? There were Attorney General, and then the Secretary of Defense, and then the acting, and then there were so many changes going on. Was there something more nefarious planned that we know about from what happened?
Probably. I can't wait to read that book in a year or two. We know from reporting now, David, that Donald Trump went up to that line with everybody We know that he broached the subject with his military. What can we do? We know he broached that subject with his Justice Department. What can we do? With almost every institution, Donald Trump over the last 3 months walked right up to that line of literally ordering people to overthrow the election. He walked right up to the line and either asked or told people to do things. This is all being investigated. What he did to state elections officials all over the country. The state of Georgia this past week launched an investigation into that phone call where the president of the United States called the Secretary of State of Georgia and said, find me 11,000 votes. There's going to be a lot that's going to come out that will blow us away.
Yeah, that's why we're just scratching the surface on what we do know, and wouldn't be surprised if during the Senate trial some other revelations might come out, and possibly we'll see if it might even sway more Republican senators to vote. I want to take one final question since we're about out of time from Christopher. Christopher, you get the last question.
Awesome, thank you. And I am the previously mentioned American husband that you wish luck to. So
oh, there
thank
you
you for
are.
that.
Good luck with your wife from Spain.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you said that there were some Republicans organizing to try to make another party, yeah? So what would it take for that group to become a party that is able to be a contender against the Republican and the Democratic parties?
Money.
I should have said other than money, because that's exactly what I figured you were going to say.
Money. Look, there is a, so look at the Republican Party. 2/3 of the Republican Party is Donald Trump. Then you've got 1/3 of us who are either still hanging on or we left the party. On our own, we don't have enough numbers to win. And by the way, the Republican Party has fractured. So the Democratic Party right now could be in control of things in America for a while, because right now, neither wing of the Republican Party has enough to win on their own. But basically, we have a small constituency out here of former Republicans and conservatives looking for a home. We know there's an audience of people out there who don't want to vote for the new Trump party, and they worry about the Democratic Party. So we know there's an audience out there. It's going to take resources to put something together. And then, as you know, in America, Washington, D.C. doesn't run our elections. Each state is in charge of their elections. So you've got to do battle with all 50 states to get your new party on the ballot. But that takes money. That's all.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.
Joe, it's been a real pleasure to have you on. Thank you for joining us here at the American Club of Hamburg. We hopefully we can have you back in about a year's time or so when you have some new directions going on and ready to announce.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God bless. Let's stay in touch. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for joining us. I just want to say our upcoming event is with U.S. Consul General Darian Akins, who's graciously agreed to give us insights into the Biden's new administration direction. I will ask Consul General Akins about the areas of innovation and technology where the U.S. and Germany can and are already cooperating, including efforts relating to climate change and green renewable energy. And then afterwards, it'll be time for a Q&A. That's February 25th. At 7:30 p.m., Leading with Science with U.S. Consul General Darian Akins. Hope to see you there. Thanks again, Joe, for joining us. I just put the name of your book into the chat so everybody that's here can get a chance to pick up your book. And we look forward to also a sequel.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks so much, everybody, for joining the American Club of Hamburg.